Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the OnReviewCast. I'm your host here, Ash, and today we're going to be discussing Squid Game episode, was it 5? Yeah, episode 5, season 3, episode 5 of the Squid Game. If it's your first time here, guys, welcome. And this is the show where we break down every episode. We go through almost every episode of a TV, the show, or drama. It's your number one go-to for all things media. We review them, give them scores, and we go through them and I give my funny antics, my wacky opinions about the dramas and the things that we've just seen. And today, like I said, we're discussing Squid Game season 3, episode 5. And just like every episode guide, as we're gonna get this episode started of reading our episode synopsis, episode breakdown, courtesy of fandom. This episode is called Circles, Triangle, Square. It's the 5th episode in season 3 of the Netflix TV series called Squid Games, and it's the 21st episode of the penultimate of the series overall. Synopsis. No-Il tries to gain the upper hand in negotiations, but her plans backfire. Gi-hun faces moral crossroads, testing his limits. How far will he go? Let's find out. And that's the episode breakdown. But like, just jumping in, like, man, I gotta say, this is an interesting. You know what I mean? Like, people say that the second episode of the Squid Game is actually the most interesting. I want to say is the best part of like season 3. I mean, I don't know, you know, it's definitely probably up there, that second episode with Daeho and like Yeon's trying to run around killing him, trying to find him and kill him. But I think this episode, you know, it just shows some political truths, I think, in this episode overall. And I think that there's just some details that in here that actually reflect, I think, because of the reason why Squid Game is so, you know, I think popular is because it reflects human nature and human reality of what we kind of like live in. It's definitely a communicative piece. That's what I want to say. It's definitely a communicative piece as the way in which we humans strive on how we deal with money and greed, and how we view things objectively and subjectively, and how we view even like things like intelligence and, you know, empathy. And I think it's very, very deep, this particular series, I think, in my opinion. But let's go through the episode, and then you'll kind of see like exactly kind of what I'm talking about once we go through some of the things here in episode 5 of season 3. So essentially the episode starts off kind of in the way of where I was saying, like before, No-Il, the lady that was actually a part of their group, of the Squid Game group, she's wearing the pink jumpsuit and being all guarded and murdering people. She's actually going back to take down the man. She's going back to basically erase any trace of the player that essentially helped escape. She's being a badass in that way. Yeah. Anyway, so she's going back and she's going to do this, and honestly, the ball's in her for actually returning back and going ahead and wanting to defy all sense and reasonability to go back and just try to essentially stop this thing. But I thought her whole interaction through this entire episode too, which we'll discuss probably later on, about how she, you know, comes front to front with the second in command, aka frontman number 2. But yeah. Also, wait a minute, guys. I just want to discuss something as well, because it's the penultimate episode. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. You know, I understand that, like, it's kind of weird that, like, we have almost two kind of front men. Let me know if you guys felt that there were two kind of front men in this series. I don't understand, like, oh, like, the front man can't be everywhere at once, but at the same time, like, I mean, like, it feels like the second in command, like, he was the B plot villain of what the front man was. But like, I mean, and I guess it kind of makes sense to have like a second in command, but like, I don't know, like, I guess he was necessary for the plot of, you know, No-Il escaping, coming back to this place, and like she needed someone to fight. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe they could have woven that in, because we know if the frontman is gonna be a villain, maybe they could have woven that in with actual frontman, you know, being, you know, in charge and doing that thing. I feel like to some kind of degree. Anyway, I just felt kind of weird because I guess like season 1, we know the front man, right? Front man wearing the black mask that looks iconic. He's the villain, and now we have another villain that's all dressed in black and this is Square. We never seen him before. He just came in season 2, 3, and 2-ish or 3s, and it doesn't feel like an authentic villain. I guess it's the B storyline, but still, it doesn't feel like an authentic villain. Anyway, back to how this episode starts off. So this episode starts off again with her coming back to this island, and you can see her infiltrating this thing. But remember from last episode, we also have Gion, who had the knife, and he's going to, you know, potentially murder these people in their sleep. Now, don't worry, it doesn't get kind of cool, crazy like how fucking The Walking Dead did it. Remember that crazy shit when they went in there and Daryl and his people and Rick and his people just sort of slaughter people in their sleep. Still don't agree with that decision, but Gion makes the decision actually to stray away from this and not do this. And the way that they did this was they triggered a memory for him of when he was there in the first Squid Games, and the girl, when it was just 3 of them, and the girl that was like not doing so hot, you know, was gotten murdered. It was a throwback because at first you don't really recognize who she is. It's like, oh, who the hell is that? And it's like, oh, remember when he stayed there the first time? It's that girl. Yeah. And his best friend murdered that girl in the sleep. It's a reflective again piece of showing that how, you know, Gihan is not, that there are better people out there in the world. He's not the best, I guess, person in the world, because he's obviously made mistakes. Remember how he tried to charge the whole place with his little ragtag group? And that was a horrible mistake anyway. But he tried to show that he's a step above all of it and all of them. And we have the front man in the background just watching all of this as this essentially goes down. So the next morning essentially starts and he hasn't murdered these people. I can't help but think though, like if he had murdered them, how easy it would have been to continue even murder half of them. It definitely was the easy way out, but I think again it's a reflective piece to show that necessarily just because it's the easy way out doesn't necessarily mean it's the correct way out in essentially doing things. But yeah, so the next game essentially gets started up, and it's the game of surprise, penultimate episode getting towards the end here. It's Squid Game, but in the sky. It's Squid Game in the sky. But it's called Sky Squid Game. And I'll just be honest, like I can't really remember what exactly happened with essentially the first Squid Game and how well the first Squid Game is supposed to essentially be played. Don't really remember that, but yeah, this whole concept and this whole thing is actually interesting. So let's break down the game a little bit to how this basically was supposed to go. There are 3 giant pillars they walk in this room with 3 giant pillars that basically like towering skyscraper like type heights, of which they took elevators to essentially get to. And once they reach to the top of this, these tall, extremely tall, towering skyscraper like pillars of a square, triangle, and a circle, reminiscence of the episode title, they have to essentially push one another off. And the rules basically say that one player has to basically be eliminated per pillar. There's 3 players. There's three pillars. There's minus meanings equals that, which means that there are 3 people that at minimum will have to be eliminated for them to essentially pass this round and get through this round. So the rules also noticing like how, which we discussed before, the rules also say that, you know, you can it doesn't necessarily define and say that you can't kill more than 3 people. It doesn't say that you can't you know, form groups, push people off, X, Y, and Z. That's essentially what it basically kind of happens, but we'll get more into it. But that's the game, and they're all eyeing, at the beginning they start eyeing Gion and the baby, of course, because they're the most vulnerable. And again, talking about reflective kind of piece, they start eyeing and they start discussing, you know, who to eliminate first, and automatically they still have their hard-ons for the baby because of Junie's basically untimely passing. They believe that the baby shouldn't even be involved in the game as well in the first place. And I got, you know, I mean, while they do have to a certain extent a point, you know what I mean, all of us, I think, the politically correct, which was the politically correct thing to be like, hey, no, you know, the ironic thing, sorry, is that politically correct, you know, they probably believe that the baby shouldn't be involved in it either, but the politically correct, they're both right. The baby shouldn't be involved, but also you shouldn't be murdering the baby, because this team wants to murder the baby, right? It's all kind of fucked. But yeah, I mean, like this is essentially the game, and they start, like I said, grouping up and talking amongst themselves about discussing how they should essentially eliminate 456 and 222, the baby. But until 333, the baby's father, the crypto guy, he actually steps in and he actually says, like, wait a minute, wouldn't it be easier to take out, you know, Ming Su, the drug addict, because he's still there. Instead, and because he is being on drugs and he's going through withdrawals, it's probably easier to eliminate him from, you know, the first round. And at first it makes sense, but we all know the background, the backstory with him and that baby is the fact that, you know, he's the baby's father and he's essentially just trying to keep the baby alive and he's trying to figure out a way to keep himself and the baby alive, but they don't essentially know that. So, and again, we talked about it being like kind of like a reflective kind of piece. The piece is basically saying that, you know, people will usually follow the more intelligent individual, or seemingly younger generation, because they seemingly seem more intelligent, because the old man and everybody else is like, oh yeah, he has a good head on his head. I know, I believed in this young man. It's a great plan, or whatever it is. But while at the same time not understanding that they might be being manipulated by the younger generation that is coming up behind them. That while they're just so trusting because he's so young and he seems so intelligent, they couldn't even fathom or contemplate the thought of, you know, this guy is probably being disingenuous, or this possibly being some kind of you know, harmful actor within this thing. He might have his own motivations for eliminating certain people, and they don't see the manipulation in that and how they're potentially being eliminated. So yeah, but let's going back to the rogue guard of Noel. So she, like I said, she's infiltrating this place. And while all this is going on, they go into the next game and all this other stuff. Noel is confronting the frontman number 2. And just as she's getting ready to essentially murder him, she tells him that, hey, listen, frontman number 2 tells her, Noel, essentially that, hey, you know, there's still some backup files that are, I know you got me at gunpoint, you're trying to get me to wipe out all this information on this computer system, but there's some hard copies of the backup files that we have to essentially keep track of all of our players. And she's like, show me where, and it's like, oh, it's in the front man's room. So they take the elevator out to the front man's room, and the second they get in there, he presses the button, you know, slowly, and then it's betrayal. and they're in a scuffle. And pretty decent fight. You know, the guy Noel is getting in some jabs, but at the same time, she's keeping up on it. She's getting in some jabs, but she's actually taking some licks, and the frontman number 2 is actually able to beat her down. And while he's beating her down, essentially stabbed her, she essentially crawls away, or it appears like she's trying to crawl away. But the truth is, she's not just trying to crawl away. And while she's trying to crawl away, the frontman number 2 is actually distracted by a phone call and saying whether or not we should start the next game. And he allows the next game to get started. And when he turns his back towards her, she's already crawling towards the elevator. And it's in the elevator previously where she dropped her gun. And this is how she essentially takes out, you know, frontman number 2. Pretty good scene, honestly. A good way to eliminate him. get him down. But I also, at the same time, if he had not run for that gun or charged at her, he might have lived through this. All he had to do was essentially just back off. If he knew the gun was in there, he could have backed off, but he could have threw the knife maybe at her to essentially kill her before she got the gun. There's, I don't know, there's multiple things I'm just noticing. I'm just seeing in the, essentially in this thing. Anyway, so we flip back to the Squid Game that's actually happening, and Ming-Su is tripping shit. The guy that was taking the drugs, so he was in the part of the Thanos crew who made it towards the end. He is tripping shit, and he is seeing things like Thanos. I mean, that was a good little scene. We got to see Thanos again. Oh, Thanos! Oh, we got to see Thanos. I mean, but we also got to see Thanos' little crony as well, who got limited in jump rope. Still craving and wanting those pills and etc. But he's tripping shit, and he's trying to knock. He's fighting ghosts, man. He's fighting. Essentially, man, he's fighting ghosts. He's fighting people that just basically aren't there, and while he's being distracted by this and he's being so enthralled by all of this hallucination, they, like I said, they come up with a plan to basically attack him and push him off for the first round. And they're actually able to successfully do this while noticing that, first of all, before they actually go ahead with actually pushing him off, they have a discussion about who's going to push him off, how it should happen, and then they start to also worry amongst themselves that, oh, well, what if he grabs onto me? I don't want to die or whatever it is, and essentially, like, someone who's going to push him, how are we going to do this, essentially? Until, again, the crypto guy, he's very intelligent. He sees the pole in the middle of the platform, and he pulls it out, and he essentially uses it as a weapon to knock Ming-Su off of the platform, causing him to fall to his death. And again, he's just showing his strength as to, I guess, his intelligence into being useful to the group. But at the same time, again, it's a reflective piece. Just because he's young and he's coming up with these ideas, he's coming up with these solutions, doesn't mean necessarily he's for the betterment of the group. I mean, no one honestly in this group is a good person, in my opinion. They're not good people from them wanting to murder this baby, and for them basically being okay with how they're deciding to just gang up and just vote on, who is going to be eliminated. I mean, I don't think that that's a politically correct thing to essentially do. Sometimes, with things that seem like the correct thing to do, like voting, in that situation isn't necessarily the best way to decide things. I get that they maybe in that first round they thinking that this makes sense to be fair and be politically correct between one another, but I don't think that was basically the best way to essentially handle that. They do something else with the drawing of the lots later on that might have been where it's just random. That might have been more of a accepting kind of like, or even rock paper scissors, like how they're doing later on, might be more of an accepting kind of like way to basically handle this, I think. But it is 333 that pushes Ming-Su over the edge while he is tripping out, and he's having this hallucination about Semi, of course, because he's so in love with Semi. Oh, Semi looked out for me, but I'm tripping drugs now. And he falls over the edge, like I said, and he meets his untimely demise. Anyway, so at this point, at the same time, our rogue soldier is still going through and the front man's like personal area or whatever it is, and she's looking for these hard copies of the people who essentially played the games. Now, there's some things I want to discuss here real quick. What's fucking weird about this, if you will go back and rewatch this scene, right, there is something so fucking creepy about this that I need to discuss. A long time Squid Game fans will know what I'm talking about here. She's walking through door to door, right? And one of the doors she opens, she sees Il-Nam's, the 001 from season 1, the old man. She sees old man Il-Nam's face mask, right? Hanging up with a suit. And then she sees Il-Nam, the actual fucking guy. Now I'm thinking that, like, is this Who the fuck is this? Is this? I'm so confused because we know in season 1, Il-nam basically, essentially, like quote unquote, died in that hospital room while Gi-hun was waiting for someone to help a stranger, like around Christmas time or something, like whatever it is. But this, I'm wondering. It looks like it looks so real, but I'm wondering, like, not like production wise in the show. I'm talking about their universe. Is this like a wax figure or like a statue of Il-nam, or is this actually Il-nam being preserved in this fucking space? There's so many questions behind. That's fucking weird. It's so weird. Like, why is Il-nam's it was Il-nam really a suit? Like, do you know what I mean? Was his body actually really a suit? Because this thing standing beside this mask looks exactly like him, and he has his eyes open and he's like looking at the screen. Like, dude, it's fucking weird. Go back, guys, and watch Squid Game, this episode 5, and see what I'm talking about. This is when, again, the rogue soldier, No-Il, is walking through his quarters, and she's looking for these hard copies, and we see this, and it's like, what the fuck? And the thing is, the camera just like it leaves after this one little glimpse of this thing, leaving you with a bunch of questions. She's like, and she walks in there, she's like, okay, what the fuck? And then it cuts away with her opening another door, and that's essentially it, leaving the viewers to be like, what the fuck did we just see? Like, what the hell is going on? What does that even mean? Was he even real? That's the big thing for me. Like, was he even real? Does that mean like the first little part of Squid Game and his character, was his character even real? Was he even there? I don't know. Or maybe he was there and he was controlling some animatronic thing. He wasn't even really in the game. Wild. Anyway, so she's continuing on looking for this essentially hard copies of these documents so she could essentially destroy them. And she essentially finds them eventually, deep within the crevices of this fucking place. And so we switch and we'll come back to that, but we switch back to the scene of where they're going on to the second level now of the Squid Game. So they moved from the square, so now they're going to the triangle, and everybody is now once again trying to decide who should be eliminated. And of course, we go back to the topic of 4, 5, 6 in this baby. Anyway, fuck again. I'm just saying, like, not good people or whatever it is. So they pick up the poll, they do the same procedure of like, let's vote. They vote for all of them or whatever it is, and they pick up the poll and they get ready to push this motherfucker off. But Gi-hun, being so, slick and sly, it starts running his mouth, start talking about like, well, if it's today, again, like how the saying said inside of their dormitory, today it's me. If it's me, it might be me the second we go off. But it might be you who's next, because like he basically bluffed them. He was telling them like, I'm not gonna let go of this baby. And so one person has to go, but if the baby and him goes, that means that they will have to decide amongst themselves, whoever's left, who is gonna have to go after them. And being, again, this is such a reflective piece of how people are, the selfishness of man, how they're so selfish, and it's essentially like they're all willing to essentially off this kid as soon as possible. But when it comes to their lives, they're like, fuck that. They're like, fuck that. I'm not doing that. But I mean, it's again, I think it's human nature to be selfish in this realm of, like, especially when it comes to like life or death. I think it's just human nature just to be selfish, but it really, the ugliness really comes out when it comes to survival, honestly. And Gi-hun is so good at bluffing and talking about this, and he's making these motherfuckers question, and this motherfucker with the pole who is trying to push him off, essentially, making him question is like, is he really gonna hold on to this baby as he falls off? And if that happens, I'm basically gonna be fucked, and it might be me. And so he backs off and he's like, no, okay, let's fucking think about this for a second. See, we got this, I need to think. Yeah, so like it's actually pretty funny, and they start to actually fight amongst themselves and discuss as the like what's gonna happen and how we have to. They were just basically trying to separate the baby and 222, the baby and 453 Gi-hun. So I mean, honestly, but if you think about it, again, this is all the crypto guys' little manipulation of guiding them toward a way to cause this infighting and etc. They're all being played, they're all being manipulated, and they don't even see it because they're so focused on the greed. But not only the greed, I guess, at this point, but surviving this fucking thing and surviving this fucking ordeal or whatever it is. And it's so I don't know, it just shows it's a reflective piece. It's so honest and true about how the human nature, not just men, the human nature, and humans essentially are. And I think that's honestly fucking brilliant, in my opinion. And they come up with this idea to essentially tie themselves off to one another. So while playing rock, paper, scissors, got to mention that, to tie themselves and make a rope to make sure that no one basically essentially falls. And their attempt was basically essentially, like I said, to separate the baby. Anyway, switching back to our rogue soldier here, Noel. She, like I said, basically finds these documents of all the hard copies of essentially all these other people they have little scenes of while we're still seeing what's happening to this individual. The person who was working at the amusement park with her, they're all he's trying to essentially escape the island as well, and they're shooting at him, and it's basically a one big shootout until they actually hit one of his engines and they slow him down. It doesn't look too good for him, honestly. And just as they're about to murder him and eliminate him, the soldiers who are in the boat get shot by, who is it? Dun dun dun! It's the detective that was actually following him in the boat. Well, who's actually looking for the island. So obviously he's gotten closer now, and he gunned down those other people. So I want to say something about that scene though. How do you, like that part, the writing in that part was a little because like, how did you know like what was going on? You just fired on these people. You just fired as like, oh, pink people. Like it just seems a little bit inconvenient. Do you know what I mean? Like that, just like, okay, he's in this dire thing, right? He's in this dire situation. He's in this dire position, but now it's a little inconvenient for him to be saved by these people who he doesn't even know. And yeah, he was down, and maybe they were just shooting upon the people who are wearing the pink. I guess that could have been a thing, but it just feels a little, I don't know, that part to me felt a little bit inconsistent or whatever. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that situation particularly. Anyway, going back to the situation where we have these men tied up on one another. They're using their jackets as a rope to essentially hold on to one another to make sure that if Gihan doesn't grab on anybody, they don't fall as well. And everybody, at first the whole drawing of the lots thing, they try to basically trick Gihan and saying that, oh, just come on over here, we'll draw lots and it's fine, and like so they nominate 336, one of the guys, to grab him and essentially separate him and the child, so they wouldn't have to essentially eliminate themselves. So I want you guys to notice though, again, being a reflective piece, they're all willing to work together, try their hardest to eliminate this child, to do something really wicked, something that like they all agree that the baby shouldn't have been involved in this in the first place, but because they're so selfish and they feel that the solution is just to kill the child, everybody agrees on the same concept of idea. The baby shouldn't be involved. But instead of being like, okay, the baby is just excluded from all this, they decide to like, the solution must be to murder the baby so we can get more money. There is something there. There is definitely something there. It's a communicative piece. There's something there. That's something there. Because all this cooperation, all this ingenuity, all this thinking is fine. We couldn't come up with a way to essentially decide to say, hey, this child is excluded. Let's not do this, and let's just figure this out amongst ourselves. We have to choose the violent route of saying that let's go after the baby. That's fucked. That's fucked. But reality, that's what happens. That's how people think, and that's how honestly, I'll just say it. That's how stupid people are. That's how stupid they are. That's how stupid they can be, honestly. Anyway, So it goes on, and the guy that's in front actually charges Guion, and Guion, being the smart individual from before, held on to his knife. Actually, remember from before when the front man actually had to talk with him, and he gave him the knife, and he was like, "Use this to kill people." Actually, he's learning. He actually held on to the knife. He's like, "You know what? I'll take the advantage. I won't murder them. I'll take the advantage." And so this guy lunges for him while he's tied up on this jacket rope thing, and Guion cuts the rope essentially. It's like tug of war. Everybody falls down. Who's just trying to essentially pull him, and the guy that was leading the charge notices that, oh, this motherfucker has a knife. And so he starts to back off of him, and he has him in a corner essentially ready to stab him. And at this point, 333, the crypto guy, still has the pull, and he, at this point, with Guion on his back turn, he could have essentially easily knocked, well, three of them off, honestly, but he yells at him to get out of the way just as he's charging, and Guion moves, and the baby get away, and the guy ends up toppling over and going off of the edge. And Guion is like, "What the fuck was that? You just murdering people?" And he just and he holds up the knife towards the guy for the pole. And the guy with the pole, 333 crypto guy, is like, "No, it's cool. Like, I'm with you." And I thought that was like the twist. The twist was pretty good. Like, we all knew what the twist was, but him just realizing it, how he played that was so like, well, he's like, "Whoa, what the fuck? This guy crazy." It's like, it's just fucking throwing people off. But I also want to say that, like, if the crypto guy was 333 was really determined to get out of there with that baby, why? Like, man, he's I mean, everybody's, it's meta. The acting within the acting, his character's acting had to be like really convincing, because you put your child now in so much fucking like danger, right? You put your child in so much danger that like it could have gone left. That situation could have not essentially gone that way. It could have gone a completely different way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could have gone, man, wow. Just like, I didn't even know what to say. Sorry, I'm flabbergasted here, guys. That could have gone a completely different way. He put a lot of faith in his ability / plan to like essentially manipulate these people just at the last second. But now he's revealed his intent at the last second, and he realizes they all realize that he's betrayed them. The shoe's on the other foot now, where it's like they're in control. They have the weapons, they have the knife, and he has the pole essentially. And Guion, and they're all talking amongst themselves and trying to convince Guion that he can be trusted, essentially, that he's on their side. And Guion flashes back to remember, like, during Camp Road, how he was talking to Junhee. So maybe this is actually essentially true. So, and he reveals to everyone essentially that he's the baby's father. So we're now at a stalemate, where we need someone. Actually, no, someone just went off the thing. Okay, let's really look at this. Someone just went off the platform. We want to talk about this. Someone just went off the platform, right? So someone just went off the platform. Do we really need anybody else to die right now? We don't, right? We really, really don't. But they were trying to figure out, like, okay, well, now the person's off the platform, and like the baby and Guion haven't really necessarily been given up, and now the guy with the pole, 333, is on their side. What do we do next? And so they started randomly beating the shit out of this one guy, and it's like, okay, he's gonna be our lunchbox. He's gonna be our ticket to get out of here. And it's like, dude, I'm pretty sure there is a solution. There is something else that we can do besides fucking up this dude, or just randomly choosing to fuck up this dude, to fuck him up just enough to get him over to the other side and then essentially kick him off. It's like they didn't even make a decision. They just started ganging him, dude. Like, just fucking just stomping on him, beating the shit out of him, and breaking his legs. And to the point where, again, I'm pretty sure he didn't have a choice in this. It was just so fucking random. And this just shows how majority rule isn't always the best solution. Or if all of us decide that this is going to happen, let's just make this happen, essentially, or whatever it is. And then again, I think it also exemplifies how human nature I don't know, sometimes they choose violence, you know? Sometimes we choose violence, and it's not right, and it's not correct. And seeing this, Gihan is like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? Back above him, and he essentially tries to defend him. And during this defending him, the other players actually look confused, but they also use this opportunity to try to take the upper hand and try to disarm Gihan and the crypto guy of 333. And in their struggle, 2 more players die. One 333 kicks off the other player, and he kicks him off the ledge, and he goes falling to his death. And Gihan essentially stabs a motherfucker because he felt like, he essentially had no choice, and he dies right there and then. And then, I gotta say this. I know we're running into a longer time here, guys. I'm sorry. Thanks you so much if you're listening with me. You're staying with me here on this journey. But I gotta talk about number 100. Number 100, the old guy that was like, fucking like, one more game, and all this other shit. And like, I'm an old motherfucker. Basically, the Trump representative of Korea of this show. The Trump representative of Squid Game, as I should have said, is. He's like, oh, well done, good men. You guys did an excellent job. All right, now that we've eliminated this, we have our lunchbox. We can do this and do that or whatever. And then like on principle, 333 was just looking at him like, and I guess like number 100 at that point was kind of taking sense, and he could have survived. But 333 was like, and I think the audience at this point was like, we're so tired of your shit. Like, we're so tired of your shit. Get the fuck out of here. Like, get the fuck out of here. We're so tired of your shit, dude. Like, your whole thing about this Trump mentality. I'm an old man. I'm selfish. I gotta do whatever it takes. I have such a large ego. I'm your elder. You should listen to me. That's all bullshit. I'm just like. We're always like, you know what? Just out of principle, you might not even be one to be greedy here, but just knock him off. That's fine. Just knock him off. It's fine. You can do it. It's fine. Humanity is gonna turn look the other way on this one and allow you to murder this guy, essentially. But yeah, so that's what happens. And he I think I was out of principle. It felt, I know, let me know in the comments, guys, how cathartic it felt when that guy, number 100, the old fucking guy who was just convincing everybody to just do the wrong things, went off the edge and met his end. Tell me in the comments how good that felt. I mean, it was, as a result of that move, what happened was, there's only, a few players left now. The crypto guy, one of the guy that they were beating up on, and Gihan and the baby. And remember that we need one person to go at least one round. They didn't have to do all that killing. So if he had not do all that killing, he actually spared. It's felt cathartic, but it actually fucked him, because if he had spared him and wait to kill him to the next round, he wouldn't have been in the situation that he is right now. And the situation essentially is that the guy who they were kicking their ass on, he was like, you know what? I've had enough. And he decided to murder himself. So now it's just been down between the crypto guy, his baby, and Gihan. So, and one of them has to go between the next round. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I know this one ran a little bit long. Thank you so much for if you rocked with me here. This entire thing, but there was a lot to say. We're gonna jump right into Ash's favorite scenes. Ash's favorite scenes. And one of my favorite scenes, honestly, within this was coming in at number 3. I think the takedown of the frontman number 2. Frontman number 2, this is actually pretty good. Didn't see that death coming with the machine gun and how she was just crawling, and it just kind of ended like that. That was kind of cool. It was very strategic, and I like the way that was played out. Coming in at number 2 for Ash's favorite scenes, I honestly gotta say, was the attack on Gihan when they first had the rope with the jackets. That was actually pretty cool, because Gihan just pulls out this knife. It's like, oh, I'd forgotten about the knife. It's more the shock value for me, the surprises, guys. I was like, oh, I forgot about this knife. And then, like, technically, Gihan could have murdered motherfuckers up in there if he wanted to. Just not kicking them off. Anyway, that's coming in at number 2. Coming in at number 3 is for Ash's favorite scene, honestly, and I mean, and I think that's a part of it too, being so cathartic of number 100 dying. But had he had been spared and waited to murder him just until the other platform, if the crypto guy hadn't been so greedy, or at least been watching the other guy before he murdered himself, he wouldn't have found himself in the situation that he's in. I think that would have been, that would have been better. But that's my number one favorite scene, actually. The number 100, the old man Trump looking motherfucker getting murdered. That's great. And guys, the on review score. Lastly, guys, our on review is gonna give this episode actually a 4 out of 5. It's actually a pretty good one, honestly. Definitely 4 out of 5. It made you think. You see how they were easily manipulated, and how the situation went from this looks really bad for Gion to this looks really bad for Gion, but like holy shit, it's getting like crazy for everyone. Chaos spreads, and so yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out some of my music, Ash the Anomaly and Anomaly Beats, on YouTube and all the streaming platforms. Some new music definitely is on the way, guys. Please be patient. The music is coming, but check out some of those, anime tracks that we got on Anomaly Beats. Some Dragon Ball tracks, some Yu Yu Hakusho tracks, and some Fullmetal Alchemist tracks. So there's some good anime tracks on there. I would go ahead and listen to that. I would do that, guys. Don't forget to hit us up on all of our social medias as well, the OnReviewCast, the Facebook, the Instagram, and the Twitter. And lastly, guys, thank you so much for watching, like I said, and be safe, be kind, be you.